I got molested when I was 8. My father was a heroin dealer. All right. I was a drug dealer. I only went to the 9th grade.
Welcome back to another episode of Let's Talk About This. Happy New Year's. It's the year 2024, and this is the first episode of the year. And I have a special guest on the platform this evening, John Giordano. Welcome back to another episode of Let's Talk About This podcast. It's the year 2024. This is our first episode, and this is the first guest of the year. His name is John Giordano. John is a very phenomenal person. John has gone through incredible life transformation from the stigma of childhood sexual abuse, homelessness, and severe addiction to being a renowned addiction expert with 39 years of sobriety. Congratulations on that, John.
Thank you.
He actually started his own holistic treatment center with only $300, which he eventually sold for $45 million in the year 2012. Is that correct? He published 3 books. He's a motivational speaker and the chaplain for the North Miami Police Department. He specializes in holistic and mental health and trauma recovery. John has appeared on national and local television and radio shows as a represented addiction expert. He has also contributed to over 80 scientific peer-reviewed research papers. ResearchGate ranks him as one of the top researchers in the world. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome John Giordano. I had to give you a special, introduction. You've done a lot of things, so you deserve this introduction.
We're all God's kids. We're all special.
Yeah, that's true. We're all special. We're all special. How you doing? Welcome to the show.
I'm doing so good. I can't believe it at my age. I'm in the best shape I've been in years.
Okay.
I was just telling you off air that I got operated on about 8 weeks ago. I have 14 screws in my neck. I got 2 rods going down my neck, and I have 43 staples. And I do alternative medicine. So my doctor couldn't believe how quick I'm healing.
Right.
And what I share with people when I go on podcasts, a lot of people, especially addicts, they suffer from mental health issues. Right. It's not just drugs and alcohol. And it's not just drugs and alcohol, it's eating disorders. You have compulsive overeaters, you have anorexia, bulimia, people that have bulimia, which they eat and then they throw up. I mean, there's all kinds of spending addiction, sex addiction, shopping addiction. There's all kinds of different addictions. And, when people say, well, how do I know I'm an addict? Well, I make it really simple. If you continue to do a substance or a behavior in spite of adverse consequences, maybe you need to take a look at it. Real simple stuff. I'm an inner city kid. I was brought up in the South Bronx, in the worst neighborhood, in Harlem, in the worst neighborhood. It was written up in New York, where it was called Fort Apache. That was the police station there, and all the gangs and all that stuff. And I was all kinds of gangs growing up, different gangs, black gangs, Hispanic gangs, Irish gangs, Italian gangs. I got molested when I was 8. My father was a heroin dealer. He went to jail when I was 8. I got molested by some guys in the neighborhood at 8 and a half. I got molested by my babysitter. She was 14. I was 9. I've been through all that. I had a very brief stunt with eating disorder when I was 12. I thought I was fat and I didn't eat. My mother got crazy that she brought me to the doctor and he said I was anemic, and she said, that's impossible, but that's what happened.
Right.
My family was a mafia type family. My uncle was a hitman. My father
I figured that when I heard the last name Giordano. I said, I wonder if he's
a part of the family, genre, as they say.
Right.
But anyway, my uncle was a hitman. My grandfather was a Shylock. Those are people that lend you money at a high rate of interest, and if you don't pay, you'll pay one way or the other.
Right.
Okay. When I was 20, my uncle gave me a wedding, and I married a Jewish girl, and of course I'm Italian. They wanted a Jewish guy. But they met my family. They thought they were terrific, which they are. If you don't mess with them, you'll be okay. All right. And one side is the bride family, and the other side is the groom. So on one side was lawyers and doctors, and her father was a lawyer, and on my side was racketeers with guns, and the other side with pens. So it was kind of like a diverse group. And what happened was the caterer insulted my uncle in front of the family, so he killed him the next morning.
Wow.
So me and my new bride had to leave town real quick. All right. I'm also a grandmaster in martial arts. I'm a karate champion, national karate, black belt hall of fame, all that kind of stuff too. That's how I got this injury from judo when I was young. And
what happened? How did you get these injuries like that you're telling me?
What happened was when I was 17, I was in a judo match and the guy threw me on my head.
Oh.
Messed my disc and messed up everything.
Okay.
So what happens is, as we go along in life, we say we're not going to be like our parents, or we're not going to be like this one. Well, I winded up being just like my family. All right. I was a drug dealer. I only went to the 9th grade. I didn't finish school. I wanted to make money. As street kids, we want to make money and have women and all this kind of stuff. And that's how we are. And when I got into my family did an intervention, I'm going to cut it short. I wrote a book about my life story to help people, to motivate them, to show them that no matter what happens in your life, no matter what kind of family you have, no matter what education you have, okay, whether you're a drug addict or have mental health issues or not, you can be successful and do it the right way with integrity and values and spirituality.
Right.
Okay. So if I may, I want to read a little bit about the back of my book that helps people. And this is the book. It's called The Kid. I don't know what happened. You can't see it. It's blurry.
I can't see it. It's a little blurry on your camera, but it's the kid from you're from the South Bronx, right?
Right, the kid from the South Bronx who never gave up. That's interesting.
The kid from the South Bronx that never give up. Okay, it's blurry. I mean, I don't know why it's showing blurry, because your background is blurry too. It could be the setting that you have on your computer.
Well, anyway, I'm not blurry.
Oh, well, you're not blurry, but anyway, go ahead.
Okay, it's called The Kid from the South Bronx Who Never Gave Up.
Right.
Here is my roadmap for positive change.
Okay.
There is one thing in this world, one special lesson, one constant that has guided me through the turbulent waters of life. This infinite rule, which most people know but ignore, or who simply do not follow their life lessons. That is, no matter what, no matter the circumstances, the obstacles, the people that get in our way, or things that slow us down, follow this one simple rule. Never give up on your dreams, never let go of your passions, and especially never give up on yourself or God of your understanding. My name is John Giordano, and I'm a recovering addict who turned $300 into $45 million. I was blessed to become extremely successful, and I'd like to share my story with you. This is how my life was transformed and how I was saved from falling into the abyss of hell, and by following this one rule and learning how to have a life worth living. So, I teach a lot of inner city kids, and, look, a lot of us quit school. We want to make dollars and all this kind of stuff. And
right.
All I can tell you is this. Here's a guy that couldn't spell very well. My grammar wasn't great. Well, now I got spell check and grammar checks. I'm good.
Right.
And I went back to school. I went into treatment. I got better. I went to therapy. All the things I never even heard of. Therapy. What is that? I'm not going to tell anybody my problems.
Right.
That kind of stuff. And I went to 12-step meetings, and I turned my life around. And for those out there that are listening, you can do it too. But you got to get off your butt, okay? And you got to do the work. And that's just the bottom line. You got to go back to school, get an education, take a direction, and keep going. Whatever it is, you want to be a rapper, but be the best. Whatever you want to be the best that you can.
Be the best at it.
Before the miracle happens.
That's right.
That's like this, impart to people, because I've treated thousands and thousands of patients, of clients.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them died, some of them are in jail, and a lot of them, believe it or not, have a life worth living.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's nobody gets you well. I don't get you well. You get you well. All we do is give you the roadmap to get well.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just the bottom line.
Mm-hmm.
So, the things I lecture about, because I almost died from this disease. My wife almost died. She's in recovery, and so is my son.
Mm.
And I watched my son then put charcoal down his throat to absorb the pills that he took that he almost died from.
Mm.
So if you have kids, man, and you're connected to that, it's traumatizing. All right. So I wanted to come up with something that's going to work better than what we're doing in treatment today. We're not treating people for the most part, we're warehousing them. And people are going in and out of treatment, in and out of treatment, in and out of treatment. The insurance company, the model is they don't want to pay the treatment center, and the treatment center wants to get paid. So when you have that type of thing, you got not good treatment. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, we're not looking at stuff that we need to look at. And I want to give you some of those pieces. All right.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people, especially inner city kids, they're traumatized. Okay. Mom was out maybe running the streets. Dad is out with a bunch of women. Okay. It used to be grandma and auntie used to take care of the kids. Now grandma's running around and so is auntie.
Mm-hmm.
So that family unit fell apart for the most part.
That's true.
And I think anybody in the community knows that.
That's true.
So what kids like me were looking for was a family, respect. We want to feel a part of something. We want to feel like, we have people that have our back. Okay. The bottom line is that if you want to know what somebody's like, what should they hang out with? If you're hanging out with, like I used to hang out with, drug dealers, robbers, all kinds of different kinds of nefarious people, that's what I was. Today, I hang out with therapists, doctors, lawyers, Indian chiefs. It's a whole different ballgame.
Right.
So, the bottom line is that we're capable of change. And spirituality is the foundation. I'm not a proponent of religion. I'm not against it, but I'm not for it either.
Right.
To me, spirituality is the key to any foundation for anything we do in life. And what is spirituality to you, John? I said, look, it's simple. Learn to be kind instead of right. Reach out and help someone less fortunate than you. Okay? Work on yourself. Do your best not to lie, cheat, or steal, or hurt somebody else or yourself. Real simple stuff. Okay? And let me tell you, the best high I have in the whole world is helping God's kids. And that's just the way it is. And I was completely opposite. I used to say, screw God. God don't care about us. I blamed everybody in the world for my stuff. John didn't look at John. He looked at everybody else. Because to look at me, I had to fix me. And I didn't want to, and I didn't know how, and I didn't care. So for you out there that are suffering from whatever you're suffering from, there's hope. But you got to do the work. There's some people that are into religion and, that God's going to fix me. No. Here's how it works. You got a toothache, you could say a prayer on the way to the dentist.
But you still got to go to the dentist.
Your tooth.
Right.
So the bottom line is what you need to understand is that the Creator will help you if you do the work.
That's true.
And that's just the way it is. Your eyeballs fall out. It's not going to make a difference if you're not doing anything to help you. So a lot of people say, "Well, man, I have no education. I went to the 9th grade. I got a GED, and then I went back to school." You could do it. All I can tell you is this: I was scared to death to go get my GED because I didn't go to school in 25 years. And today they do algebra. I didn't have any of that stuff. I guessed that all that when I took the test.
Right.
Some Yes. Then I went to school for addiction training, and then I did all this other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And what the bottom line is with mental health, unfortunately, treatment centers are not treating people in the 21st century. They use an old model that really doesn't work very well.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now we call it a third rule. A third of the people will get well regardless of what you're doing with them because they really want it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? But the problem is that we're only looking at people psychologically. Most people have early trauma from their mom, their dad, from kids in the neighborhood, or whatever happened to you, and that colors the way you look at life. You had a boyfriend, he cheated on you. You had a girlfriend, she cheated on you. Now you look at everybody and you don't trust people.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? You went into business with somebody and they screwed you over. So now you look at everybody, they're trying to screw you, right?
Mm-hmm.
They screw them before they screw you. So you become what you despise. You get caught up in that loop. Okay? So what you got to learn is that the choices we make causes what's going on in our life. If I choose to hang out with dealers, I'm going to be a dealer.
Mm-hmm.
If I choose to hang out with people that are on the same path as me, bettering myself and learning how to be healthy, I'm going to be more healthy and I'm going to better myself.
Mm-hmm.
So that's just the rules of the planet. So what they're not doing in treatment and what people need to look at, and different cultures have similar problems. I work with the Native Americans also.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. They have obesity, high blood pressure, and diabetes is the main things that they have. They also have cancer and other things, but those are the main. Same thing with the African American community, the Black community.
Mm-hmm.
High blood pressure, diabetes, okay, and cancer.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So there's a lot of things you can do. Your diet our food supply is horrific. So people in the inner city say, well, man, I can't afford that good food. I'm going to eat at Burger King. Well, look, Burger King also has salads. I ain't eating no salad. Well, how long do you want to live? Well, don't matter, man. I got nothing. Don't matter if I die. I know how people think.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know what God has in store for you, whatever God is to you.
Right.
Okay. So you can eat better. Don't drink the sodas, which are poison.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You have to be careful of a lot of things. Get a good job where you can start going to get insurance, maybe, and go to the doctor.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I understand it's very difficult working and getting jobs, but you have to start someplace.
It's true. Yeah, you do.
Remember, no decision is a decision.
That's true.
And what you have to understand. So if a guy like me could come out of where I came out of, okay, with the gangs and molestation and no school and a crazy family, and you can do it too.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that I believe I could do this? No. If you told me years ago that I would be where I am today, I'd probably punch you in the face thinking trying to make fun of me.
Mm.
And that's the truth.
Right.
Right? Never in a million years can I imagine how I winded up where I wound up. And legitimately not chasing the dollar, really helping people.
Right. Right.
Well, if you read my book, you'll see all the stuff I went through. Okay.
Yeah.
To get where I am, and then you'll understand.
Right.
So what we're not looking at is leaky gut syndrome. Look this stuff up, guys. H. pylori infection. So everybody go, what is that? That's your gut. Okay, that's the flora in your gut, the bacteria in your gut. It's called the microbiome or microbiota. Okay, that has more neurons than your brain. So serotonin and dopamine, that's the feel-good chemical that us addicts are chasing with drugs. Okay, we manufacture naturally. But, okay, if your gut's out of whack, this is going to be out of whack. Your body and your head is a system. Otherwise, just send the head to treatment, leave the body home. If you have a low thyroid, especially women, you can have depression and anxiety. Go look this stuff up, guys.
Yeah.
Hypoglycemia, low blood sugar, depression and anxiety, closed head injuries, depression, anxiety, behavioral problems, and
Right.
suicide ideation. Look all this stuff up. We're not looking at it as a treatment group.
Right. Right.
We're only looking at the psychological piece. Not good enough. Low testosterone. We did a research project. 85% of our clients had low test, and they all had depression and anxiety. Raised up the test, it started to diminish, along with the psychological piece you got to do too. Most women, when they hit over 50 and stuff, they get dry. They don't want to have any kind of sexual attack, things anymore. Okay, because they have low testosterone. It raises the testosterone, the body starts to fall into place. So we're made up of a lot of different things. We're not just made up psychologically.
Right.
Our hormones could be off. All this other stuff that's going on. Our gut can be off. If you don't exercise, all right, your body's meant to move. You can't just be sedentary and sit around all day and expect not to get sick.
Right.
Now, there's such a thing, most people don't know about this. It's called zombie cells in your body. Senolyticals, it's actually called. And they call it zombie cells. So what are zombie cells? Zombie cells are cells in your body, okay, that don't completely die. So what happens is, as time goes by, your cells die, and new cells are, regenerated.
Right.
But some of the cells die, but only half. And they clog up the works and they cause inflammation. And inflammation is a killer for us.
Right.
It's also good for us, but if it goes too far, it's not good for us at all. Okay? So what you have to realize is that there are a lot of things out there that can help us, but are not being taught. That's why I've lectured to almost 100 countries now around the world. When I talk about this stuff, they go, wow, we never even thought of that. See, because I'm in their wheelhouse.
Right.
I'm not telling people something that, airy-fairy stuff that doesn't work. This is all medical stuff that they know for a fact can cause all these things. So what you have to be careful with are sugars, and they come in a different way. Processed food, really bad for this body. And I'll give you an example. When you're putting that garbage into your body, right? Go, if you have a gasoline car, go put diesel fuel in it. Let me know how you do. It's fuel, but not the right kind, is it? Okay, then you're gonna have to throw your car away.
Right. Exactly.
So that's what you're doing with your body when you're doing that stuff in there.
Explain the processed food to the people that's watching this podcast right.
Look at a lot of the stuff that they add to it, the GMOs. Look at the corn syrup that's in there. Look at the chemicals that they put in there. That's processed food.
Right.
Real simple. You think you're eating a hamburger at Burger King, you're eating processed food. You think you're eating bread, you're eating processed food. All right? You think you're having milk that's just from the cow? Yeah. It also has hormones in it, also has all kinds of stuff in there to protect the cow from disease. Right. It goes to the milk. Yeah. Now, that's a lot of the young girls, they have all of a sudden they have breasts that are forming, and they're more grown than they should be for their age.
They look older than some of these girls look older than they should be.
That's all the hormones and also the antibiotics they put in there. So if you get sick, the antibiotics don't work because you already killed all the bacteria in your body. Food.
Yep.
Look, is it easy to fix all this? No. But all you can do is the best you can. I don't do it perfect either. I don't claim to be the guru that does everything perfect. No.
Right.
Okay. I do the best I can when I can.
Right.
And and there is so much to learn about this stuff.
Mhm.
There's our water supply.
Mhm.
It's really bad. Look at, what was it, Michigan, or I forgot where it was.
Mississippi. I think it's yeah. I think it's was it Michigan or Mississippi or Michigan. I think it's Michigan. You're right.
Right. The water supply, they had mercury in it, lead in it,
Yeah. Mhm.
and the kids were like getting mental health issues and
Yep.
heavy metals. Okay, like rice has arsenic.
Mhm.
Go look it up. Okay, you gotta, if you're not sure, you have to look at things. If the doctor tells you something, you can listen to the doctor, but
Right.
also so you check also what he's saying.
Right. That's
Human
true.
beings,
Yeah.
they make
That's
mistakes.
true. Yep.
So, you have to look at all these things.
Mhm.
This is what I teach people. It's really simple. You go to my website,
Mhm.
John, the letter J, Giordano.com, and you'll see some of my podcast. And I talk about a lot of this stuff.
Mhm.
You know, there's a lot of things. There's genetics that cause mental health issues. All right. There's other, like we went over all the different medical conditions that cause depression and anxiety.
Mhm.
And you need to find a therapist that does a technique called EMDR, eye movement desensitization reprocessing. Make it easy, just call it EMDR.
Okay.
That's an expert that will help
You're gonna have to explain that to the audience what
you.
that is. Is that a particular type of treatment?
Yes, it is. Now,
Okay.
that's what I do, but I redeveloped it. I
Okay.
get trauma in 20 minutes to 30 minutes, and they no longer have it.
Right.
Okay. And I'm not just saying that. That's why I work with vets that come back from war, from Iraq, Afghanistan. I work with women that have been molested or raped.
Mhm.
Okay. Police officers that have been in shootings. The technique was founded, the original technique called EMDR, by Dr. Shapiro. Now, the story I got, I don't know if it's the right story, but this is the story I was told.
Mhm.
Her father had died, and she was walking in a field, and she was a neuroscientist, a
Mhm.
clinical researcher. All right, so she had that kind of brain. So as she was walking in this field of tall grass, I think in Iowa or somewhere where she was from, her depression lifted like it never was there before, and her father just died. And
Mm.
she didn't understand how that could be possible. And she even tried to get it back and didn't come back.
Mm.
So she tried to figure out what was happening at that moment in time that it lifted. The only thing she could come back with was her eyes became fixated on the wind with the grass going back and forth.
Mhm.
Okay. So she's being a researcher, she wanted to see if there's any eye studies going on. And she came across a team at Berkeley University that they were doing REM studies, rapid eye movement studies.
Mhm.
Okay. And what they learned was how the eyes encode trauma on the brain. All right. Really
Mhm.
interesting stuff. Um, so what they do is bilateral. They move the hands in front of the eyes in certain patterns,
Mhm.
and they have you think about the trauma. And to unscientifically, I'll explain it. It forms like an electrical storm. A trauma is a closed loop that
Mhm.
keeps recurring.
Right.
Okay. What this does is opens that loop and spreads all the information out into different quadrants in the brain.
Mm.
When right now you're listening to me, okay, but your brain is also picking up other information. It
Right.
may be your air conditioning, it may be the blur behind me, it may
Right.
be a ton of different things that's
Right.
going on, sounds, and all this stuff that you're not really paying attention to, but you're paying attention to me talking, but there's other things happening.
Right.
Okay. So all these millions of bits of information are being stored in your brain in different places. Now, I'll give you an example. They did this technique on a woman, okay, that they did not this technique, they did what they did was they did therapy with this girl that had been raped.
Mhm.
Okay. She seemed okay, fine. All right. For a year, 2 years, she was fine. She
Mhm.
was sitting in a restaurant by a railroad station, and a train went by with a whistle.
Mhm.
All of a sudden, she jumped onto the floor in a fetal position, shaking and crying. What had happened was when she was being raped violently, a train whistle went off
Mm,
and it triggered it. So
mhm,
people may say, well, I don't understand how can that can work. So I'll explain. You ever sitting in your car and you're driving and you
mhm.
listen to a song and you start to laugh or smile or cry because the memory comes back?
Reminds you of something, yeah.
Same process.
Right.
So this technique, what it does, okay, it causes disassociation from the emotional state
Mm-hmm.
trauma. In other words, picture a glass in between the trauma, okay, and your intellect.
Right.
Now all you're looking at is from the intellectual, realizing that's in the past, it's not in the present, it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't have to affect me now. But if
Right.
you connect emotions with it, you get emotional. Just like when you get angry, that's when you get out of control, right?
Right.
So same thing. So when that's not attached, you can see things for what they really are.
Mm,
So that's how the technique works. Did I explain
right.
it?
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
that makes sense. Yeah. You detaching the emotions away from the actual event
Right.
that
Actual
happened. Yeah.
event.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of things out there, okay,
Uh-huh.
that can actually help you.
Right.
All right. And people say, well, where do I get this information? You're looking at them. All right. Go to my website. We mentioned ResearchGate, and what ResearchGate is, instead of John telling you how great he is,
Mm-hmm.
okay, ResearchGate is a platform for scientists and researchers from all over the world to put their peer-reviewed journals on. Now,
Mm-hmm.
let me explain to you who don't, I didn't understand what peer-reviewed journal is. Maybe some of you don't, so I'll explain what that means.
Right.
What you do is you write a paper on what your thesis is, what you believe, okay, something.
That's my dog. You gotta excuse him
I
if
think
you
it
hear.
was your husband.
That's my dog.
Anyway, so what happens is, okay, you write this paper, then you have to show them through other papers how this matches up to be truism, to be true, okay?
Mhm. Right.
Logic, all right? Then it goes in front of a bunch of different scientists and doctors, and they review your paper and
Mm-hmm.
you tear it apart, and they tell you, no, you got to fix this. Your study doesn't work with this. Your idea doesn't match what it's known to match. You have to either go back to the board or we're rejecting the paper.
Right.
So that's how most doctors don't even have one paper. This guy, I don't even know how. I'm with a team of scientists and researchers from 12 universities.
Mm.
How did that happen? God works in strange ways, guys. I mean, if you see my life story, like I told you, the kid from the South Bronx who never gave up,
Mm-hmm.
all right? In the back of the book are some of my research papers, all right?
Mm-hmm.
Homie don't play, as they say in the street, okay? So the real deal is the real deal. I don't talk stuff. I show you stuff.
Right.
You know, you can talk a good game. Street guys can talk you into the snow out of the Eskimos, man. You
Right.
know, but it's what you do, and not what you say that matters. All right,
That's true. Right.
that's just the bottom line. When I started my third treatment center, the one we made all the money from, we were broke as a joke. It was a 750 square foot building that a friend of mine,
How old were you at this time when you started this
I
treatment?
was 37 years old when I started my journey in recovery.
Okay.
Right. So, I always chased the next job that paid the most money, like most kids. Okay.
Right.
So what happened was after I got recovery, I wanted to be a therapist. I had to go back to school. I did all this stuff. And so we had this 750 square foot room that my friend owned the place, and he says, I said, look, how much is it to rent the place? He goes, how much money you got? I said, I got $300 in the bank. He says, I tell you what, run it for a couple of months, make some money, then give me $300 a month. And that's what we did. And we took people in that didn't have any money. We didn't have any money. They didn't have any money, but they really wanted help. We took them anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And we went along that way. We had creditors chasing us, and nobody wanted. You answer the phone. I don't want to answer the phone. You answer the phone. You know how the bill collectors call. You know. Eventually, over the years, we started growing, and we brought in. I brought in a partner who did the business. I didn't know about business in the beginning. I'm a street kid. I didn't know about business. You know. So my partner, my friend, came in. He says, "I said I'll give you 50% of the company." He said, "Oh, okay." So let me see your books. I said, "What books?" So he said, "Well, how do you collect them? How do you know who gave you money?" "Oh, they give it to me. I put it in my pocket. They'll pay. Don't worry." He said, "They're addicts. They're not going to pay." So I said, you know, so that's how I went. I just wanted to help people, you know.
Right, yeah.
So then we brought his son along. He straightened all that out, and then taught me how to do business. And his son was an internet genius, knew how to run the internet. And we got another place, and you read about it in the book. And then we had an angel. We helped somebody's son that was a multi-millionaire, bought us these buildings that we were paying him 8% on the money that he loaned us, and we started to grow. Now remember, I only had one employee. We're looking at him.
Right.
At the end, we had 147 employees. We had 7 buildings. Okay, I mean, what a journey and what a trip, man. I mean, never in a million years we thought we would grow that way, but we did it. That nobody, and still today they talk about my treatment center or our center. What we did.
It's located in Miami, right? North Miami.
North Miami Beach.
Not okay.
Okay, what we did was we did hyperbaric medicine. That's oxygen under pressure. It's called HPOT. It heals the brain. That damage that drugs leave behind. See, us addicts think we're thinking clear. Well, if you don't think drugs damage your brain, okay, then you're really messed up. You know? So the bottom line is drugs damage our brain. We don't think right. You know? We always think no matter what we do, there's always a good reason to, and it's everybody else's fault, not ours.
Explain to me how that hyper that what you was just talking about, the hyper.
When you do,
how does that work? When you do the treatment with the people,
you go into this chamber. Okay. And
that reminds me, because every time I hear that hyper chamber thing, I think about Michael Jackson, because I remember he used to sleep in one of those things.
Well, yeah, like I told you off air that you can't sleep in these things because you create free radicals, and that causes havoc in your body.
Okay, so you go in the chambers, and what happens?
Hospitals for wound healing. It was first used for the bends. When divers went down really deep, they had nitric oxide in their blood. They'd have to go into this chamber to rebalance their blood and everything like that from all the depths of the ocean that they were in. Then they could come out, okay? Then they found that it healed wounds, okay? So people that I work with, one of my mentors, Dr. Harch, all right, he's a pioneer, he's a neuroscientist and a researcher. Okay, went to the Senate with him and Dr. Williamson, another friend of mine, and they got them to approve wound healing for diabetics in the VA. Because they were cutting the arms and legs off, because when you get a wound and you're diabetic, it really doesn't heal very well. And eventually it turns into gangrene, and then they have to chop.
And they gotta amputate the,
That's right. So they go into a hyperbaric chamber. Now, what does that do? It's oxygen under pressure. Drives the oxygen into your body, okay, and brings all the white blood cells and all the cells to heal, okay, the wound. Now, they also came across for TBI cases, which is called traumatic brain injury, which I believe addiction falls into.
Right.
Okay? So if it heals a cut and it goes into your body, also heals your brain. Real simple stuff. Okay. So that's what this does.
Okay.
Right. And then there's atmosphere and there's dosage, and it's very complicated. Right? So that's one thing. Then we did acupuncture. That's been around for 5,000 years.
Right.
It's been around that long. It's got to have some kind of value in my book. Okay.
What exactly does acupuncture do for?
Acupuncture can help with cravings. It can help to we're made of energy. Okay. And what most people don't realize that, you ever heard of grounding? Grounding.
No,
Okay, look it up, guys. Look up grounding sheets.
okay, I have to look that up.
Grounding. I have
Okay.
them on my bed, grounding sheets. The planet, when you walk barefooted on the grass,
Mm-hmm.
it takes out the negative charge in your body and goes into the planet. Go look it up. There's science behind it. It's not baloney.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And what these sheets do that you put on your bed, there's a plug that goes into the sheet
Mm-hmm.
and into your plug outlet that's for your grounding.
Mm-hmm.
Little, with 3 prongs, okay? The round plug, you
Right.
put the plug in there too. And it grounds your bed. And it helps with pain, it helps with inflammation, it also helps with sleep.
Now, where you get that at?
Amazon.
Okay.
Go look up the research.
Okay.
I have grounding sheets and I have them on my foot of my desk.
Okay.
Barefooted, I stand on the sheet. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
It helps with a lot of different things. We're made of electrical energy also, and that's where a lot of acupuncture comes in. So we're not just the physical body. That's why I don't know if everybody knows this, but when you break a bone, okay, they put electrical stem on the bone to help heal it. Also, it's called PEMF. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
I have to wear for my neck that I got operated on. It
Mm-hmm.
helps with the bone. They're magnets, okay,
Mm-hmm.
that actually work on the. I know this sounds like crazy to some of you, but there's science up to kazooie on it. All right, and I can tell you it works.
Okay.
Experience also, and I turn people onto it.
I broke a few bones, so I'm just trying to figure out how I've never,
You put electrical stem on the bone.
Mm-hmm.
Over time, it'll heal the bone fast.
Okay. Well, I'm healed now. I'm just,
Well,
still a little, I still have
look,
a little complications, but
a lot of the stuff people don't know about.
yeah, a lot of stuff. You're right.
So,
A lot of people don't know about this stuff.
I wouldn't believe it unless I did it myself, and
Mhm.
I saw it work on my patients. So, look, guys, it's hard to believe things that you don't see and don't hear. It's just
Right.
like we believe in God. Well, no, who saw God? It's faith, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you have faith.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this stuff, the difference between faith, okay, and facts are facts are facts. If things work, they work. You see, if it works, it works. What do you want to say? It doesn't? It's working.
Right.
Okay. So all the stuff that I'm talking about actually works. And listen, I'm 77. I
Mm-hmm.
don't take any medications. I take nada. Okay. I work out.
Mm-hmm.
I feel great. I
Mm-hmm.
heal quickly.
How often do you work out? How many days a week?
5 days a week, but I can't work out now because of my neck.
Okay.
I had to take a break for a couple of months.
All
But I
right.
usually work out 4 or 5
You look
days.
good for 77.
Hey man, I keep working on it.
Yeah, you look pretty good, I have to admit. Now tell me about the recipient. You were a recipient of the Martin Luther King Award.
Right. Well, that's
Okay.
another that I
How
did.
did that come about? I want to know
Okay.
about that too. I mean, let me let you finish telling me
Matter of
what you
fact,
were
I
talking
was using drugs at the time, really, but not doing. I didn't use them every day. I used them on the weekend and once in a while during the week. That kind of stuff. I wasn't
about.
at the end of my run, to put it that way. I was in kind of almost like in the middle.
Okay.
Doesn't interfere with your job and stuff like that, or your.
So technically you were still in your addiction at this point in
Yeah,
your
I
life.
was still in my addiction. Well, I
Okay.
was working for what's called Flea Market USA. It was a flea market with they had about 500 booths in
Mm-hmm.
there, and one of my students, my karate student, owned it with another fellow, and he wanted to sell me a booth, and I said, no, I want to work for you. He
Mm-hmm.
said, Sensei, a sensei is teacher. He says, Sensei, I know you do karate really well, but this is business.
Mm-hmm.
He said, well, how much money do you want? I said, give me $1,000 a week. He said, what? Now this was 1980, 81.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So I said, I tell you what, give me $250 a week. And you set the goals for me. And if I make them, I want $1,000 a week. So he set these absurd goals, but I
Mm-hmm.
made it. So I says, after that, they gave me $1,000. I said, look, they said they wanted to have an opening that the biggest opening that was ever in the state of Florida. So I called a friend of mine who knew a bunch of different, people, and he came up with James Brown. So I said to the people that owned the flea market, I said, look, we need a theme. Now, there was riots in Liberty City and Overtown, okay, that's in the Black community, okay, that nobody wanted to go in there shopping. They were afraid.
Right.
All right. So I said, we're going to revitalize Liberty City and Overtown in Miami. So I said, I want to invite President Reagan to the flea market grand opening. Everybody laughed at me. So I sent a letter to the White House. I got the letter back. It's in the book. You can see it. All right. And they said, well, the president can't come due to scheduling, okay, because it was a very hot topic in the community. Nobody wanted to go in there. There was a big riot. It was terrible. Okay. And here we are changing. I went to all the deacons and all the pastors. I'm dancing in church and all the community and all this kind of stuff. And a lot of people knew me in the community because my black belts are from the community.
Okay.
I taught in that community.
Right.
1965, it was really funny. Let me backtrack a little bit. In 1965, I taught in the Carver YMCA in Overtown, Liberty City.
Right.
White people did not go into that community. They were afraid. Here I am with long hair, mustache, with a karate uniform, with no shoes on, walking into the YMCA there, right, into the community center. The guys were shooting pool. Everybody stopped shooting pool. Then I went back through the gym in the back, and everybody stopped working out. They said, what is this white dude doing in our community? I'm in the back of the karate school.
Right.
Now, karate teacher that was there was my student, who was a special forces guy, and he used to be a gang leader in the community before he went to the service. So everybody was afraid of him.
Right.
So one of the weightlifters came over and he goes, hey, white boy, you think you could kick my ass? I says, yeah. His leg was, his arm was bigger than my leg. Right? So I said, well, get on the mat. So he went on the mat. He tried to sneak punch me. I sidestepped him, kicked him in the stomach, dropped him to the floor. We couldn't breathe. And just then my student walks in. He goes, oh, I see you met my teacher. So that's how my introduction was to the community.
Oh, I see.
Everybody wanted to come in. I had to fight them, beat them up, and then love them.
Right.
That's how we are,
Right.
And I got over 200 black belts. They're all karate national champions. My blind black belt was a champion also. You look me up on Wikipedia. You can look me up on Google.
I saw you on Wikipedia.
Yeah, if you say Grandmaster John Giordano Karate, you'll see Google will talk to you. So that's what happened in the community. So what happened was they sent Carrie Meeks. Now Carrie Meeks was not yet the senator, but she was the head of the state or something department. Right. And they sent her, and they don't just send people from the White House without checking you out, okay? Right. So here I am, and she checked me out everywhere. She went to the Martin Luther King Foundation, and they found out what I did. So on stage with James Brown, I had 60,000 people show up. This is not me saying, this is the press. Wow. As far as we had a giant parking lot. As far as I could see, in every direction, there were people. Okay? It was wild. And I got the videos. So when people
I'm looking at the photo right now in front of me. Oh, okay. James Brown is on stage, and you got all these people. Yeah, I'm looking at the photo right now.
Oh, okay. There you go.
You can see it, but yeah, I'm looking at the photo here. I'm like, wow, it's a lot of people there.
Presented me with the Martin Luther King Award.
So who did Martin Luther
King?
In
New York, I'm a street kid. I didn't see color. When I came down to Florida, I drove down with some friends. This is like 65, and we pulled into a gas station, and they had two fountains. They had the Negro fountain and the white fountain. I said, what is this? So it was a big line with the white fountain. So I went to the Negro fountain. What do I care? So to me, it was the same stuff. I didn't care.
Right.
So drink of water, and one of the rednecks go, "Hey, boy," he says, that's for the Negroes. I said, well, if it's good enough for them, it's good enough for me. And I kept
Right.
drinking.
Right.
You know, I never believed it when I took a
Sound
bus.
like sound like something I would have did back.
you know, you know, well, who knew about that stuff? I don't know. Most of my black belts are from the black community.
Mm.
You know,
Hmm.
I, I don't know. I mean, it's gone crazy what's going on in this world today. Anyway,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
say the N word. That's how we used to talk to each other in the streets.
Yeah.
Hey. So I mean, it's like I don't know, it's stupid.
Right.
Anyway, a lot of the kids that I trained in karate, even though I was using drugs,
Hmm.
okay, back in the 60s, that was normal, you know? And some of them are doctors, some of them are lawyers, some of them are policemen, some of them are dead, some of them are in jail.
Hmm.
It's the way it is,
And
you
it's
know?
that's the way it is now today.
Yeah.
Still the same way,
It's,
nothing changed.
it's worse today.
It's worse today. Yeah.
Drugs today, you don't know what you're getting anymore. You didn't know what you were getting before, but at least it didn't really kill you.
Right.
Got fentanyl, and they got this other stuff that's a tranquilizer they're putting in this stuff. They're putting it on pot, they're putting it on coke, they're putting it in meth, they're putting it in heroin, they're putting it in pills. You think you're taking a regular pill that you get in the street, like a Xanax or whatever, and it's fentanyl. And then you
Yeah.
die.
Yeah. They got some.
And Narcan may not get you back.
Yeah.
So they
That's
shoot
true.
you up, and
That is true.
maybe you'll come back.
Yep, that's true. That
So you're
is so
not getting
true.
high anymore, you're getting down. And
Mhm. Yeah, they got some hardcore stuff out here in these streets now.
not bad, man. It's really bad out there. I don't even know why the dealers are doing that. They're killing their clients. You want the people to come back.
Right, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
But and what happened is everybody wants it's cheaper and everybody wants the better high and you
Mm-hmm.
know and there's no better high than helping yourself and other God's kids. I'm telling you now, I know that may not, yeah, man, but I gotta make the money. I can't make money any other way. Look, I know all about that baloney, man. I said the same thing. It's a lie. It's called a street lie.
Mm-hmm.
The street.
Yep.
Believe it or not, governments don't want you to get educated and smart.
No, they don't. I
No,
mean,
they
I
don't care.
just
Really, they really don't care about us.
they don't
They
care
don't
about
care
well, the
about our
government
vote.
don't care about the country at all.
No.
And I think that's why I have a hard time with all these politicians. I mean,
They're all out for themselves.
yeah, basically they're all out for themselves
Listen,
and
it used to be better years ago,
right.
but better where they left crumbs on the table.
Mm-hmm.
Now, they don't care. They only want to save their own butt. They don't care about us. But
Mm-hmm.
that's where we stuck. It's still the best country in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But it's getting the other way too now. So we
Right.
got to, be careful who we vote for. Okay. Be proactive.
Right.
Get out there in your community and help your community. Don't wait for the government to help you.
Right. Right.
You need these community activists out there. Forget
Mm-hmm.
about the black and white issue and all that stuff. I know that's real deal, but help
Yeah.
your community.
Right.
Help these people
Right.
get educated. Get them out of the streets, man.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because as long as you stay in that street, you're going to either die, go to jail, or become
There's,
a Jew.
there's nothing in the streets. There's
No,
nothing in the streets
nobody
whatsoever.
is going to help you, man.
Yep.
And you're learning all the worst behaviors.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
All of us dealers with the cars and the big jewelry and all the ladies on our hips and side. That
Right.
ain't man. Because one thing I want to tell you, if you don't have your health, you don't have your wealth. But you see us
That's
street
right.
kids,
You can have as much money. I don't care how much money you got. If you ain't got your health
but you see
and
the
you ain't got your
mentality
mind, money
is
don't mean nothing. If you ain't
I'm
got
going to
none of
die
that.
anyway. So what's the difference? I'm going to enjoy everything I'm going to have right now.
That's
That's
right.
the street mentality.
Yep. Yep.
Okay. So the bottom line is, I want to have it for a long time. You want to have it for, that's the addiction model. Short-term success, long-term failure.
Mm-hmm.
Don't have to be that way. but your choice is your choice.
That's true. Yeah, that's true.
So,
Yeah.
if you want, read the book. I got a
Oh,
couple of,
you authored 3 books. You got a book
yeah, I
called
got
How to Beat Your Addiction and
right.
Live a Quality Life. And then you have Proven Holistic Treatment for Addiction. And then what's the molecular neurobiology?
No, the neurobiology of the 12 steps.
The
So
12-step program, yeah. And
what
I guess
happens?
that's more of a scientific type of
That's a more
teaching.
scientific book with a
Yeah.
bunch of other scientists.
I just got a neuroscience book on the brain because I'm starting to educate myself on the
Well,
scientific part of it.
I work with Dr. Blum. He's
Okay,
the geneticist who found the main addiction gene. There are a bunch of genes, and there's
right.
the gene, which is
Yeah.
called the DRD2 ALE1 variant gene.
Mm-hmm.
What that means is you don't have enough receptors for dopamine and
Right.
serotonin. So that's why you're always seeking. You see, addicts have more than one addiction. If I'm a cocaine addicts usually have sex addiction.
Right.
You got coke and all the women, right? Then what's come first, the women or the coke? That's an issue too.
Mm-hmm.
Alcoholics, gambling. Okay, all of them have cocaine addicts, ADHD. Okay, they can't sit still. They're all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, bipolar disorder. These are all the mental health that go with this stuff. Depression for your alcoholics and stuff. There's all kinds of different things that go along when your brain is changed by drugs and alcohol.
Mm-hmm.
And it have to be drugs and alcohol that change your brain. You could be born with this stuff. Schizophrenia comes around about in your 20s, early 20s.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? People that are smoking pot today, the pot's so strong that it's breaking some of the connections in the brain that's causing schizophrenia. It used to be 1 out of 1,000.
Yeah.
This is science, guys. Now
Mm-hmm.
it's 1 out of 500 becomes schizophrenic.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So what's happening is, and what people don't realize with like pot, now I'm not against anything. I'm just gonna let you
I'm
know.
not against marijuana because I use it for my pain and to help me sleep. But some people use it as a way to, they use it
Yeah, they
to calm their anxiety, I guess. But from what I heard, that marijuana actually makes your anxiety even worse once you come down off the high.
Okay, well, that's my next.
How true that is, but
conversation.
Mm-hmm.
What people don't understand about marijuana, okay, pot, is it's a fat-soluble drug.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, what does that mean? It resides in the fat of your brain. What is your brain made of? It's made of fat
Mm-hmm.
and in your body.
Right.
Okay, so if you smoke a joint on Monday and smoke a joint on Friday, next Monday, you know how much you have? 3 joints
Mm-hmm.
in your body. Now you may not feel the effect,
Mm-hmm.
but that's what you have on a level of THC.
Yeah. And that's why you got to be careful of the THC. So now for me, I always I was going to the dispensary because I don't trust getting drugs on the street because you don't know what they got out on the streets. But the thing is, I always look for the THC level, because if you have too much, some people smoking all this weed and they don't know how much THC is in it. You know what I mean?
Listen, if you have, a lot of pain and you have cancer and you have all that stuff, marijuana works really good at lower levels.
Right.
It can cause depression and it can cause lack of motivation.
Yeah.
It can cause a lot of different things too. Right. Look, everything's a double-edged sword.
Yeah, it is. But you got to be educated. I
do CBD.
I like CBD too. Yeah.
Because it helps with pain and helps with all that stuff too.
Yeah.
Okay. And it's got 0.3% THC
in it.
You don't even feel it. It's nothing.
Right. Well, the thing is with marijuana is a lot of people aren't educated on cannabis either, because people are smoking, but they don't know how much THC level is in it. Like, you got to be educated on cannabis too, because
it all depends on your intent also. It's like I'm one of the leading experts on psychedelics.
Right.
Okay. So it all depends on what your intent is.
Right. Okay.
Now, if you want to talk about psychedelics like ketamine,
Mhm.
Okay, ketamine
I
is
don't
an
know
anesthetic.
I don't know anything about psychedelic. Now, what is that? Is that a
Okay,
drug
now
or is that
ketamine, well, they used to call it Special K in the streets.
okay?
Okay, and you go into what is called a K hole. All right,
Uh-huh.
you're out there, you're gone. Right,
Right.
but it's like anything done properly under medical supervision and with integrative therapy.
Mm-hmm.
It helps people with severe depression and anxiety.
Mm.
Okay. So what happens is it grows new neurons in the brain, but you have to nurture those neurons like a plant, like you plant to a seed and you
Mm-hmm.
plant something, you have to water it, make sure it gets enough sunlight. The
Right.
same thing with these psychedelic drugs. You have to go to therapy and you have to, work on all your behaviors and why they came about and
Mm-hmm.
how you look at life and
Mm-hmm.
see that's what it helps you with.
Right.
All right. There's another substance called ibogaine, which I'm one of the leading experts on that too. Ibogaine is a bush from West Africa where the Weedy tribe, where they use for a rite of passage. And I work with a Dr. Deborah Mash, who's a neuromolecular scientist from the University of Miami School of Medicine. She
Mm-hmm.
was the head of the Brain Bank and the Alzheimer's Foundation, and she just retired from there. And she's a pioneer in ibogaine treatment.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what happened was there was this heroin addict that went to Gabon in Africa to get this new high, which was called ibogaine. Well,
Mm-hmm.
he did it, and he woke up the next morning detoxed,
Mm.
which that doesn't happen. Okay,
Mm.
usually takes anywhere from 7 to 10 days to detox, 9 days. All
Mm-hmm.
right, but you're still messed up in your head. All right, with this substance, you're detoxed, you have no cravings, and you got very minimal residual problems.
Mm.
So he saw a way to make money. He opened up a treatment center, him and his wife in Panama. They got Dr. Mash.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But, addicts, just because they stop drugs and alcohol, the behaviors are still there. So
Right.
it's time to learn how to deal with that. So she
Mm-hmm.
didn't like what she was seeing, and she left and opened up a place in St. Kitts. Because
Okay.
it's a Schedule One drug, you can't do it here in the United States.
Right.
Okay. So we did it in St. Kitts. Now, what it does is detoxes people in 24 hours, which
Mm. Wow.
and also brings you back into your childhood as an adult. And you have what is known as a cathartic experience or resolution of your traumas that you grew up with.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
And you're out for about 8 to 10 to 12 hours in a dream state.
Mm.
Okay. And when done properly, what we used to do is I used to put a 24-hour heart monitor on them, make sure their heart's okay. We used to do blood work with them, toxicology tests to see what's on board because certain drugs are not good with this drug.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Then we would bring them to the island of St. Kitts. We repeat some of the tests.
Right.
Put them in a bed. We put an IV in their arm in case there's an event. Heart monitors on them to make sure their heart's functioning properly. We
Mm-hmm.
put eye shades and a headset on them with music. I'll give them a test dose. Wait 45 minutes, see how they tolerate.
Right.
And a full dose.
Mm.
Go on this journey for 8, 10, 12 hours, depending if they're a fast metabolizer, slow metabolizer, and how the liver was functioning.
Right. Wow.
My job was to help them, to guide them before they went in to what they want to accomplish and what they want to change in their life. Keep that
Right.
in the brain in the front.
Mm-hmm.
Then when they go in, that's what they focus on. Then when they come out, I help them figure out what they saw in the journey and how
Mm-hmm.
to help them with that information.
Mm.
So that's
Wow.
called integration therapy.
Mm. Wow.
So, today we use Suboxone, and Suboxone is an opioid.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So we're switching one drug for another. Now, there's a very small group of people that need to be on that because they refuse to do anything with their life. And there are people like that. So
Right.
that's what they're doing now is across the board.
Right.
Try to keep everybody on this stuff. For
Mm-hmm.
detox, 9, 6 days, 7 days, whatever, get them off, and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
Fine. But if you're keeping them on for months at a time, they get addicted to that. They don't want to get off. Because when they
Mm-hmm.
get down to 2 milligrams, man, they're freaking out. All right. So they run back up with the milligrams.
Mm.
So that's the stuff what we have today.
Wow. Wow. You gave out a lot of good information, I tell you that. And you also talked about some things I never heard of, like the psychedelic holistic stuff. Uh, I didn't realize that there were so many different treatments that you can use. When it comes down to mental health. For me, basically, the only thing I used was medication and therapy. Those were the
Well,
only
let's look at
things.
look at medication. How many times did they change your medication or raise your dosage, lower your dosage? It's an educated guess. Now, if you want, if you're happy with your medication, what you want to tell them is you want a test called pharmacogenetics.
Pharmacogenetics.
Genetics. What
Okay.
that is, they put a swab in your mouth,
Uh-huh.
you send it to a laboratory, and your DNA and RNA will tell you what drugs are best for you, to match
Mm,
your body.
right.
Everybody's body's different.
That's true. Hmm.
So that's just a little, and it's not an exact science, but it gives you a good handle on it.
Hmm.
Otherwise, it's a guessing game. An educated guess, but a guessing game. But here's the problem with those medications. Your body gets used to it because it's a foreign substance.
Hmm.
So now it doesn't work like it used. It's like, let's say exercise. Let's say
That's
the
what.
most 10
Hmm.
push-ups, right? You
Hmm.
do 10 push-ups every day, every day, every day, every day. And then it doesn't mean anything. So now you have to do at least 15 push-ups to get the same kind of results. And then
Hmm.
20, and then 30, you know,
It
you
can
keep
also, and
you
it can
keep picking up
also,
weights.
yeah, and it can also affect your libido. Like you don't have interest you don't have an interest in
That's right.
sex.
Well, look what it does.
So
It's
I had to
definitely,
tell my doctor. I said, "You need to, I need to figure something out here." But I'm eventually I'm gonna have her wean me off of it anyway because I've been taking it for a little while now. But I need to be weaned off of it. But it's not good, from what I understand, not to stop taking it on your own.
no, you cannot just stop these drugs. The molecules stay on the receptor sites, and
Right,
they cause you have a rebound effect.
right,
Okay,
right.
so what are you replacing it with? You got to replace it with amino acids.
Mm-hmm.
Amino acids are the precursor for neurotransmission.
Right, right.
So there's a lot of you have to go to somebody like an integrative doctor,
Mm-hmm.
alternative doctor, that can help wean you off.
Right.
Not the doctor that gave you the meds. They don't know how to do that.
Oh, what kind of doctor do you
They'll
have to?
take you off, but they don't know how to help you to rebalance yourself
Right, right. Okay.
without the drugs.
Oh, okay. So who do you go to again to take
You
it
can
off?
go
To
to
if
an
I wanted to
integrative
get off of
doctor,
it?
an alternative doctor, uh, someone that is not just a regular doctor.
Right.
Where are you located?
I live in Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania.
Yeah, I'm in Pennsylvania right now.
Okay, so what you want to do is get a doctor
I'm like
that,
20 minutes outside of Philadelphia.
all right, you want to get a doctor that does alternative medicine.
Okay.
Regular doctor, but he does alternative medicine also.
Okay.
Okay? And
Hmm.
tell him you want to get off your meds.
Okay.
All right? So what were you diagnosed bipolar with depression?
Yeah, I was diagnosed with I didn't realize what happened was I had a really bad panic attack years ago. And this
Uh-huh.
was like right after my divorce. This was in the year 2000. Shortly after I got divorced, I had a panic attack, and I didn't know what it was. I thought I was having a heart attack. But to make a long story short, I went to the emergency room, and they told me I had a panic attack, and that was the beginning of me learning about mental health. So I asked them, I said, what the heck is a panic attack? And they asked me, they said, are you going through anything right now? Is there anything you're dealing with in your life? And I said, yeah, there's a whole lot of stuff I'm dealing with right now. So that was the beginning of me learning about mental health, was because of the symptom that I had, which was the panic attack. And then to make a long story short, I started seeing a psychiatrist and a psychologist. And once I started, seeing the psychiatrist and taking the medication, I started feeling a lot better. But I was having frequent panic attacks.
All right, I can help you with that. You know what you want to take?
What's that?
Magnesium taurate?
Magnesium.
Taurate.
I'm going to take all this information down from you once we get off this interview and put it in my
Okay,
notepad
you want
here.
magnesium, and you want tryptophan, 5-HTP. All will calm you.
Okay. I don't have these experiences anymore, but this was back.
But what you don't have also is you're numb from the medications.
That's what it is. Yeah.
I know. Well, that's what it does. It numbs you. You're like you're walking around like a drone. You don't even realize it.
Right, right.
So, things don't really excite you as much as they usually do, and they don't bring you down like they usually do either.
That's true.
You're like in limbo.
But I would like to get my sex drive back, though.
Well, you got to check your hormone. First, we got to get your hormone levels checked.
I got to get those. Okay, we got to get those checked first. Okay.
Yeah, get some testosterone in you, you'll fire up and I got men.
I know one thing, whoever I get in contact with, once I get my body right, boy, they're going to be in a world of trouble.
That's right.
But I want to thank you so much for coming on, John. You shared a lot of information. I just want to get this right here for the audience. Your book, the book that you have. Where did I put it at?
How to Beat Your Addiction and Live a Quality Life.
Yeah, I want to. Yeah, you have 3 books. I'm gonna get.
Oh no, just the 2. The other one.
You have 2 books.
How to Beat Your Addiction is an upgrade from the other one.
Okay. So and both books could be found on Amazon.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, that's good to know. And your website is johngiordano.com.
No, it's John.
John J.
The letter J. The initial J. Not J, just J.
Okay.
Okay. JohnJGiordano.com.
All right. So for the audience who want to go onto your website and get more information.
Look through the whole thing, you'll see a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I see you have a lot of information on here. I'm going to take some information from you once we get off this recording in a few minutes. But first, I want to thank you for coming on, and I want to thank you for sharing all this wonderful information for my audience. Like I said, I'm a mental health advocate, and the reason why I decided to become an advocate is because I struggled myself with depression, and I have a family. I believe that some of my family members are struggling with mental health issues as well. And I think it started with my grandmother. I don't know if it started with her mother, but as far as I know, it went from my grandmother to my mother to myself to my daughter to my, it just goes from one generation to the next.
Get divorced, you got big time trauma. Okay.
Oh yeah, I didn't realize divorce was trauma though. I didn't realize that. Like I said,
if your dog dies that you had, doesn't have to be acute. That's trauma.
Yeah. Well, I know that now. I know that now. But back in the year 2000, I didn't know what trauma. I didn't know anything about it.
We're not educated for this. I wasn't either. I didn't even know what treatment was. I said, treatment? What the hell is that?
Yeah. Well, we never talked about this stuff as kids growing up. Our parents never went to therapy.
I mean, I was from the hood. What do you talk about? The girls? You talk about money,
right?
Cars. You don't talk about this kind of stuff.
Yeah, we never talked about this stuff. We just dealt with it and we just kept going. But and that's the thing. We hold on to these things as the years go by, and we don't realize how much this stuff affects us later on in life. I became very passionate about mental health, and I'm still educating myself. I've been, reading books on, I'm getting to the scientific part of it, the neuroscience part of it, because so many people, a lot of people are dealing with this, everybody, and people don't.
That's why I'm still out here doing what I'm doing.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because we're uneducated.
We're uneducated. That's the problem. We're not educated.
A lot of these psychiatrists and stuff, they don't know anything either.
Right.
They know what they know.
Yeah.
Okay? And unfortunately, therapists are supposed to be about change. but
Right.
they don't want to change.
Yeah.
They keep doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. There's
Right.
a 8% recovery rate.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's because a lot of the therapists aren't educating themselves on, they're
Right.
sticking
They're
with the
stuck
same
in an old, they're stuck in an old model.
they stuck in the old, just like those people in the White House. We still got them old people stuck in those old ways. We need younger people that are educated, and we need a variety of different ethnic people in the White House. We still got these people who are old people in there stuck in their old ways.
Well, listen, they don't, what the problem is they're all old.
And that's a whole nother story, but
it's a whole other program that you got going.
Yeah.
They should do a psychological profile if you want to be a senator.
Tell me about it. Tell me about it.
I don't think anybody we wouldn't have any senators.
Oh, tell me about it. That is so true. Yep. That is so true. But John, thanks a lot. And do you have an Instagram page? Or you just have your LinkedIn and your
I got
website?
LinkedIn, I got Facebook. My girl does it. Natalie, ask Natalie. I don't,
Okay. All right. Okay, well, we're running out of time here, and I just want to thank you for coming on the podcast. And I want to get some information from you before you leave, at the end of this recording. And, you gave out so much good information. Things that I might want to look into, I want to look into that holistic treatment stuff, everything I'm trying to do.
Check it out, man. Don't believe me. Just go look for it.
Yeah, I'm gonna do some research on it because I'm trying to do everything natural. I don't even like taking pills. I hate taking medications. And that was the reason why I started using because I had got injured, so I started using marijuana as pain because they put me on these hard drugs, Oxycontin.
Oh no, you don't want to be on that.
Let me tell you, they had me on those hardcore drugs
First of all, you get constipated, number one.
Yep.
Then you got other problems you can't get off.
Yep.
Oh no, then instead of taking it every 4 hours, you want to take it every 2 hours. I mean,
I was like, nah, I can't take this stuff. I was like, no. Plus, I didn't want to get hooked onto that stuff, Oh. So that was the reason why I started.
It changes the molecular structure of the brain.
Yes.
That's what they were doing, man.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. They became legitimate drug dealers.
And that's what they are, legitimate drug dealers. They give us these hardcore drugs over the, and you can get hooked onto them, so
well, that's why a lot of people got hooked.
Yeah.
And they said it wasn't addictive.
That's just to keep us on it. That's all. The pharmaceutical companies are the biggest drug dealers in this world,
Listen, it's all about money, power, and control.
That's what it's all about.
And it trickles down right to the streets.
It does. And that's why we got to be self-aware, and we got to be conscious and think for ourselves. And we have to know what's best for ourselves. You can't always go by what people tell you or what, because everything is about money.
Yeah, do your own research.
Do
your own research, guys.
Do your own research. That's what we do. Okay, thanks again. And for the audience, I hope you guys have enjoyed this episode. And if you haven't subscribed to this channel yet, please subscribe so we could bring on more guests and experts like Mr. John Giordano. Please hit that
like. Perfect. Yeah, practice makes perfect.
Practice makes perfect. Hit that like and subscribe and that notification button. I really appreciate you guys for joining in. And if you have any comments you want to leave below or any questions you want to leave or to leave below at the end of this episode, feel free to, and any topics that you think that we should have on this podcast, also let us know about that, and we'll
don't stop your medications. Okay. No good. If they're working for you and they keep working good, if you want to look for alternatives, right? But don't just stop medication.
Right. Don't stop your medication. If you're taking medication for depression or whatever, just don't stop it. You got to be weaned off of it. It's not something that you just stop right away. But
some people need to be on it, and even if they wean off it, it doesn't work for them. So everybody's different, guys.
That's true. That is true. Everybody is different. Yeah, everybody's body is different, What might work for you might you know, might not work for me. You know, what might work for me might not work for you. So, you know, yep. All right. So you guys have a good night and see you on the next episode.